you're good.
Awesome. All right, welcome everybody to our last regularly scheduled meeting for the year. Glad you all can make it and look forward to a good meeting. So I'm going to start off with our tribute to Native tribal lands acknowledgement. So let me just share my screen and play our video. Seconds.
Hash Chesh Eskol. It is good we are together. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples, who have reserved treaty rights to this land, including the Duwamish, Duh Duabj, Suquamish tribe, Duh Akwabj, Muckleshoot Indian tribe, Buckleshoot, and Snoqualmie Indian tribe, Stokwabuh. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. And we thank you for taking the time to know and understand the true history of this place, and to practice allyship in taking care of these shared lands. In good health. Hoi.
All right, and we are now at our adoption of the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Melissa Taylor, so moved.
It's been moved by Melissa. Is there a second? Is there a second to adopt our consent agenda?
Seconded by Kat.
All right, thank you, Kat. Any objection? Any objection? Any objection to adopting our consent agenda? All right, our consent agenda is adopted. And without further ado, I would like to welcome our very honored guest, chair of our Washington Democrat State Party, Shasti Conrad. Welcome, Shasti.
Hello, thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. Hi, King County Dems friends, and it's nice to see some familiar faces, and then also some new folks too. I love it. I can't believe that we are 2 weeks out. It is a wild place to be. I come mostly just to say, first of all, thank you so much for all the work that I know all of you have been doing, all year long, but certainly in these final weeks, it really does make a difference and it really matters. I just right before I got on this call, got our first matchback report back from our data team, and already 500,000 people have voted statewide, 10% of voter turnout. And we obviously have a long way to go, but that is certainly heartening to see that already so many people are voting. Ballots dropped on Friday, and so we've been seeing people across the state definitely getting excited about getting their ballots in. But you all know, you guys are the experts too. You know that everything that we do in these final weeks really will make the difference. We all live and breathe this stuff. We're thinking about it all the time. But for many people, they've got multiple jobs and kids and parents and all the things that they're grappling with. And so this is that time where you sort of are like, oh, right, there's that voting thing I have to do. And they're finally sort of paying attention and turning towards all of this work. So, it's incredibly important, everything that we do. As I've been sort of traveling around the state, I've been thinking a lot about what it felt like in 2016 and what it felt like in 2020. And, I very much want it to be like 2020, but without the pandemic. I want to be able to celebrate with everybody, go dancing in the streets, and feel really good about how we left everything, on the field for this election. The stakes are as high as they can be. The Republican Party has pushed us to the precipice of authoritarianism and fascism. And, you know, we have to truly take these folks at their word when Trump says, you know, he's going to be a dictator on day one, when he says that you only have to vote one more time and then you don't have to vote again. We know what they're going to do because they wrote it all out in Project 2025. We know exactly what the stakes are. And so all the work that we're doing in these final weeks really will make the difference, not only for us and our generation, but for our grandkids, grandkids, you know, like it really is a moment in history that we are the difference makers, you know, that we really are a part of whether we continue as a democracy or not. And, you know, I think the other part of it is that, you know, there's a lot of doom and gloom, yes, but there's also a lot of joy in this moment. There's a lot of opportunity. The fact that we get to vote for the first woman president, the first Black woman, first Asian, South Asian person to be president, it's an incredible opportunity. And, you know, both her and Governor Walz have just sort of, they emanate goodness, you know, like they just emanate this sense of really caring about people and about being able to move something forward. And I think that that's such an incredible opportunity, that, you know, that momentum that we're feeling nationally, and that, you know, for those of us who went to the national convention, certainly felt it in a palpable way in August, you know, that's cascading all the way down through our whole ballot. We have incredibly important races right here in Washington state. We have now, with North Carolina's governor race kind of imploding with the terrible Republican candidate, we really have the sort of number one governor's race in the entire country with Bob Ferguson. You know, we are feeling cautiously optimistic about that race, but you all know every single time we've had an open gubernatorial seat, it has come down to a percentage point, a couple thousand votes. It's been unbelievably close. And, you know, King County, you all are sort of what powers the rest of the state. I remember when Melissa Taylor and I were doing this work a couple years ago, you know, we looked at the difference of, you know, if we had a PCO in every single precinct, the difference that there would have been statewide initiatives that we lost in like 2018 that we would have won, you know, had we had that coverage. And where there is a PCO in a place like King County, there was a 5% greater increase in turnout in those places. And so not only does it matter for the races that are right in King County, but for all of the statewide races that we have for these horrible Republican-backed initiatives, that my fear is that the Republicans are going to learn that they can roll back our work, that they don't have to run real candidates who are then accountable to constituents, but that they will just undo all of the good that we do at the, you know, with initiatives every single cycle, and we'll spend the next 10 plus years fighting this. We have to demonstrate to them that, like, no, they're not getting a foothold. They're not going to work. They're not going to cheat the system here, and that we are going to stand up and organize against it. So it really matters. And, you know, again, I just really appreciate all of the work that everybody's doing. I'm going to leave you with the number 49. 49 votes was the difference that allowed for us to have a Democrat in the public lands commissioner race. That is the difference of what was to get Dave Updegrove into that second position. That is one vote per legislative district. And so, you know, a lot of times, and I remember, you know, certainly in King County, people would sort of write off like, oh, we're just a blue state. Why does it matter? Who cares? But 49 votes, it matters. Every single vote matters. Every vote matters. And so, you know, in the illustrious words of our incredible former First Lady, Michelle Obama, we have to do something. So get out there. You know, I know that King County, you're hosting your own canvases. You did some this past weekend, and I think they come with cupcakes, which is pretty awesome. And I know you're doing some this weekend. And then obviously our coordinated campaign, we're running phone banks and canvases every single day. We'd love to have you involved, and we'll make sure you have that link for how to sign up for those and find events. I'll also plug, and normally I would say, like, my first direction is always like, do whatever you can for back home here in Washington state. But I am going to make the plug for, if you can help in a battleground. I know that Rep. Jayapal is running, I think they're on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She's running phone banks into the battleground states. What I'm seeing coming back is that it really is like a percentage point in the sort of 7 battlegrounds that we have across this country. And so do everything you can. You know, if you're a PCO, walk your precinct. You know, do everything you can right here in King County. We cannot take it for granted. We have to make sure we're closing this out here in Washington. But if you have a little bit of extra time and a little bit of extra ability to help out, I would say also hop on and help out with the battlegrounds as well, so that we can make sure that we have things to celebrate from top to bottom of the ballot. And then lastly, I want to invite all of you to our election night party that we are going to be having at the Seattle Convention Center. Doors will open at 5 p.m., but we really do want volunteers and whatnot to stay with making sure we're getting those last ballots in all the way up until 8 p.m. But come on down, you know, when you get done with your canvassing shifts and phone banks and all of that, come on down. And then inspired by what we used to do at King County Democrats, we're going to do a birthday bounce party. I am turning 40 in the middle of November. And so we're having a little bit of a birthday party, bounce party on Saturday, November 9th at Madame Lou's from 6 to 9 p.m. Hopefully by Saturday, we'll know a little bit more about where we are with all of the races. And that's when we can really dance and have a good time and hopefully have tons to celebrate. So again, thank you for all you're doing, and I'll hand it back over if there's time. I'm happy to take a few questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Shasti, and welcome to the 40 and Over Club.
Yeah.
Yes. It's good. It's good. You'll love it. Yeah, we'll take a couple questions, and then I think Melissa was gonna shout out a few of the detailed events that are coming up from the coordinator.
Great.
Any questions for Shasti?
Hey there. My name is Kellen. I'm one of the new representatives from the 45th district here, and I'm wondering if you can provide a little more detail on the initiatives as the state party is currently looking at them. And if there's any particular initiatives that we should be directing money towards, or door knocking in particular towards, anything that you're just seeing from your end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what we're finding is that in some ways it's best to just group all of them together and just be very clear that it is a vote no on all of the statewide initiatives, because they're really confusingly worded. And so we're finding that like the deeper we get into the weeds, the more we're sort of losing people. So as much as we can basically just package them the way that I talked about it in the terms of the Republicans, which this is, you know, it's being financed by an out-of-state billionaire who him and Jim Walsh are basically trying to buy them and their friends tax cuts, or trying to undo, you know, this sort of landmark legislation that we have been able to get done these last several years in the state legislature. What we are seeing is that we're hopeful on the 3 that the legislature sort of took care of and then let through, which is long-term cares, cap gains, and the Climate Commitment Act. Those 3 are polling well for us. We obviously, you know, we don't want to take anything for granted, but they are polling over 50% on the vote no. 2066 is the not ban on natural gas that the Republicans are describing as a natural gas ban. That one was an initiative to the people, and that one, just because people don't, there hasn't been as much time to sort of understand that one. That one is sort of right at the 50% line. Like it is sort of in that dangerous zone. The thing that's a little bit scary too is that that will be the first thing that people vote for on their ballot, unless they have like a local levy or something like that. But the initiatives are actually the top of ticket. They're before you vote for president and whatnot. And so the fear is that people will be confused by the initiatives and then either won't vote at all, they'll skip them, you know, things like that. And so what I'm seeing is just, you know, as much as we can, just vote no, vote no, vote no, vote no. And just trying to make sure that they understand that this is undoing legislation that was, you know, already passed by people who were elected by constituents that they are responsible to. And that's mostly the sort of just the big push there. And then the other big thing is on messaging is just to really encourage people to vote their whole ballot. Because we are a bit concerned. It is a long ballot. I know for me, I don't get to Bob Ferguson until the second page. So we want to make sure that for our down ballot statewide and like our state ledge folks and whatnot, that people are really filling out that entire ballot. And if they need help and direction, I know you all have slate cards. The canvassing or the coordinated campaign has canvassing slate cards that will also help people fill out their whole ballot.
Thank
you,
you.
Shasti. Thanks, Kelly. Charlotte.
Hi, thank you. Two things. First, I look to be credentialed for the 45th. I am a resident of the 43rd. Just want to make sure that doesn't get overlooked. And I was wondering, Shasti, thanks for coming. And I was wondering what the presidential margins are looking like in the state so far, and how we're doing there, how close it might be.
Yeah, there was a Seattle Times poll that just came out at the end of last week that had us to up 57 to Trump's like 35, and there was a subset of undecideds, but they were looking favorable towards us. So again, state party chair of Washington State, I'm always going to tell you, we have to focus on Washington. We have to focus on Washington, and I do believe that, but I also am feeling, again, cautiously optimistic. We never want to take it for granted that here in Washington will deliver strong for Harris. But it is unbelievably close in places like Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina.
Got it. Thank you so much.
I mean,
Charlotte.
the good news is I will say, like, the polling that Seattle Times came back with, which, the other thing I often say is get off the polar coaster, because you never know with polls. And if you have time to worry about a poll, then you have time to make a phone call or knock a door or do something like that. So I sort of, you got to take the good and the bad. If you're going to have that attitude about polls, then you don't want to get too over your skis where you think like polls are, if they're good, then they're right. But if they're bad, then they're wrong. But I will say that, that Seattle Times poll did show like Bob up, Reichert doing pretty poorly, like sort of Lauren Culp numbers, us doing pretty well in almost all of our races statewide. But CD3, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez, is a virtual tie. In everything that I am seeing, it is like 46-46 in everybody's data. So that one is unbelievably close. And then our friends out in the 14th legislative district, which is Yakima, also very, very, very close. And the 10th LD, that is our top flippable opportunity, which is Janet St. Clair running against Ron Muzal. The Republicans just dumped a bunch of money into Ron Muzal's campaign. And so we're a bit concerned there, but again, hopeful.
Great. Thank you, Shasti. We'll take one more, but if there's no pressure for anyone to speak to ask, but if there is one more, we'll take it. Going once, going twice. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Shasti, for being here. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the
And I want to
context
give a
about the
shout out to
landscape.
Brian Gunn, who is holding it down. Hi, Brian. Holding it down in the 31st, and we're very grateful that he's running. And again, thank you everybody for all of your good work, and I hope to see you on the trail. We will do most of our Seattle stops as a part of the GOTV tour. We'll be on election day, but we will definitely hopefully see you at the election night party as well.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Shasti.
And that is a perfect transition. In your chat, I dropped in the links for the GOTV tour. So Wenatchee starting on Monday, then Bothell, Issaquah on Monday, and then Tuesday will be Bellevue, Federal Way, Seattle. So excited to join Shasti and the rest of the Washington State Dems, reminding people to vote. Our Don't Boo vote, modeled after Obama. At some point, people were booing Trump, and he said, "Don't boo, vote." So we are, in the spirit of Halloween, doing Don't Boo, Vote. Oh, Shasti, there's a question in the chat about if there's links for RSVPing to the election night party and the bounce party.
Yeah, let me try and grab those right now.
Okay. But our Don't Boo Vote GOTV event kicked off this past weekend in Bellevue. We knocked in Bellevue, Kirkland, and Redmond, had a lot of fun, ate pumpkin maple cupcakes from Cupcake Royale. So huge shout out to them. We appreciate them a lot. They also had voting themed cupcakes that they call their Voting for Joy, I think, cupcake themed. So that was fun. And it was definitely, it is a lot purpler. I was knocking near a golf course. So it gets purpler near golf courses on the east side. But I took my 16-year-old, well, nearly 16, and it was a good time, and we had really important conversations. A lot of people have not thought at all about the initiatives yet. So this coming weekend, North Seattle, we're kicking it off with Pramila Jayapal's team on Saturday at 10 a.m. In Northwest Seattle. I don't know if we have a final location for that, but you can go RSVP. We have Facebook events up if you want to go invite friends to try and get them excited about it. And then on Sunday at 10 a.m. we'll be in Kent, kicking off there. So please, please, please try to make one of those events. Come be in a photo. Actually, Shasti, I hate to put you on the spot, but is there any update on the Harris Waltz sign, the second order?
They just got here.
Yeah!
So we have official Harris Waltz signs that are at our Seattle coordinated campaign office. And so all the LDs get at least 25, and then we can coordinate pickup and things like that. Isabella just sent out an email to chairs and vice chairs this afternoon.
Okay. LDs in counties, because I was going to go pick up some for the county.
Yeah.
To give out. Okay, cool. And then we do also still have a few of the I voted, did you t-shirts left for people. So it first come, first served basis for all of these things, but lots of extra incentives in addition to we really want to win on Tuesday, and certainly buy the bounce party to give Shasti a very happy 40th birthday. So looking forward to seeing you all out and about, and then at the election party. So, Jeremy, was there anything else I was supposed to cover?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks to you both. Bye. All right, we will proceed with our committee report, starting with the endorsement committee.
Ooh, okay, well, we have one business item here that we would like to cover. Beth has been working really hard at putting together questionnaires, and we are bringing forward the questionnaire for the King Conservation District at this time, because this is a sort of very special election that we try to take a stand on every year, and it happens out of cycle with the rest of the positions that we have. And so we thought that it would be prudent to get this questionnaire approved early. So if it works out tonight, that would be awesome. And I am told there is, well, people should have received a link with this, or actually an attachment with it in an email today. And if you don't have it, there's a link that we can paste in the chat so that people can take a look. It's a pretty short questionnaire.
I don't think an email went out, but it is linked in the agenda that I just put in the chat, and I will copy.
Oh, okay.
I just dropped it in chat.
Okay. So, is it easier what would people prefer? Do I just want to be silent for a minute here and let people take a look at it? Or would people like this to be read aloud?
Let's I think if you summarize it, that would do well now that folks have the can you give maybe a few highlights about it? Maybe what's different from the previous year.
Can I defer to Beth on that?
Sure.
The questions seem straightforward to me, and I don't quite have it at the tip of my tongue how to
absolutely
make it shorter.
Sure.
Beth?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Martin. So as you guys know, most of you have seen many of our candidate questionnaires before. We have a few critical questions, like other than asking the judicial candidates, everybody else needs to identify as a Democrat. So that's right up at the top. We've eliminated most of our litmus test questions, and we've got straight into asking why this person thinks they are the right person for the job. Do they have a talent and a passion for it? Have they worked with King Conservation District before? Do they have background in it? If elected, what would their priorities be? It's just super simple stuff like that to cause them to think deeply, or at least 1,200 characters per question. They will be followed up in interview with all of us, because every LD is asked to bring at least one rep, a rep, and 3 alternates, if you can, to the interview with each of those folks. Those questions will go a little deeper and will often be drawn from the typical answer to our interview or to our written questionnaire questions. So that's what you'll see when you click on the link. And we hope that you guys can act this evening, since December is when candidates will be filing, and then voting will happen in the first quarter of the new year, just as we're all getting accustomed to our reorganization. There is one important thing I'd like to call out here, and that is this is the first time King Conservation District will be electing people to specific positions. In the past, we've elected 3 at-large folks, and they have appointed 2 appointee members. We're moving toward putting these on a general ballot, which means they are now a geographic district per specific position. So this is position 2, and it's voting zone 1. That is a huge zone. It would include Bellevue, Redmond, Sammamish, most of Issaquah, and then head north and head east. There are 5 exclusion cities, but you'll notice that when you open it. So thanks for giving me plenty of time, Jeremy.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Martin. Any questions before we take a vote? All right. So because it came from the committee, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So there's a motion. Is there any objection to adopting this questionnaire as the King Conservation endorsement questionnaire? Is there any objection? Any objection? All right. It is adopted as the King Conservation District questionnaire. Thanks, everybody. I think this will be one of the first times that we'll get ahead of the election for King Conservation District. And I know that's come up in the past, so really grateful for the endorsement committee's work to make that happen. Thank you. All right, we will proceed now to election observers. Do we have an update?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't find my unmute.
Welcome, Hannah.
Thanks. Yeah. I just wanted to let everybody know that we had, out of 70 available slots to become election observers, we had 64 people become certified this cycle. So that was exciting for me. I really appreciate the email that KCDCC sent out at that last one really hit. I think you were targeting PCOs, and I had a bunch of signups after that. So I really appreciate the advertisement on that. Also, I still do need 21 ballot drop boxes are not covered yet. So if you know of anybody in some of the more outlying areas of the county, I would really love to have all of those ballot boxes covered. So I'll drop the link in the chat for that. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. Any questions for Hannah about election observing? Don? Melissa, I think Don, he raised his physical hand before you raised your virtual hand. So we'll go Don, Melissa, and then Rita. It sounds like you have a question. Don, you don't have a question? Okay. Melissa, then Rita.
I was wondering if Hannah could just verbally tell us where she needs people specifically.
Sure. Let me pull up my list really quick here. There's 21. So I've got 2 in Auburn, 1 in Burien, Enumclaw Library, Federal Way, Library. Kent needs 2 of them. Normandy Park, Town Center, Pacific Algona Library there. SeaTac Valley View Library. Alaska Junction, I'm surprised about that one because I've always had somebody for that one. Garfield Community Center. King Street Box. Thought I had somebody for that, but I don't. Morgan Junction, New Holly Neighborhood Campus, Rainier Beach Club, Skyway Library, South Park Library, Central College, which is Broadway Edison Building Northeast Corner, Tukwila Justice Center, and Vashon Library.
Okay, so really all over the place, even in Seattle.
Yeah, even in Seattle. I'm surprised by some of them, like the West Seattle one. I was surprised.
All right. Well, thank you so much for helping us make sure that we're well represented. And you really do a phenomenal job on that, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Rita.
Yeah, could you tell me what the duty is for these ballot drop boxes?
Sure, yeah. It's basically showing up. I recommend at the latest by 7:15-ish on election night, and you basically just observe the ballot box closure and how the flow is going and making sure everything sort of follows protocol, and then report back anything you may see. I also do request people that sign up to be ballot drop box observers if they can also, or anybody can really, just swing by their ballot box anytime between now and the end of elections to just keep an eye on it, make sure it's not overflowing. I've had in the past, people have seen like there's dog poop in the, in the ballot box, or there's, there's some weird shenanigans that happen at the drop boxes. So, checking on your local box just to make sure everything's looking good and making sure nobody's posting funny signs near the ballot box that, discourage.
Hannah, could I have your email? Because I can probably get a couple people for Auburn.
Sure, and you can, I just dropped the link in, so anybody can just click that link.
Oh, okay.
But it's also, it's just elections@kcdems.org, but I'll post it in the chat as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. The first thing that came to mind, so I'm from North Carolina. Sorry for what's happening there in terms of the governor race, but there we have precincts. And so you have to like sit at the precinct the entire time as people come in and vote. So this is actually similar, but not as heavy. So we should get as many people as we can to just swing by and check out your observer box just to mitigate that point of weakness in terms of voting.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen we had a lot of people say the box is full, and I call and I'm like, it does help to have eyes on the boxes for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Hannah. Really appreciate it. All right. And now we'll go to our PCO committee. We have an update from our PCO committee.
I don't think Amy could make it tonight.
Okay. All right. So next up, we have the LD reorg plan and then the King County Dems reorganization. So I'll just I'll walk through some slides that I walked through with the chairs for context about what we're trying to do this year, if that's all right. So let me just share my screen. This will be brief, but just context. And I'll just say, if you have any feedback or what have you, please reach out to the chair of the LD. I do have another meeting scheduled with them, but I wanted to raise awareness about it within this context. Right. So a few things, just the goals of this early reorganization effort, and then key stakeholders, deliverables, and then the timeline that we're working against. So driving this is, every 2 years, we have this LD reorganization and wanting to get ahead of it in terms of planning and getting alignment between what KCDCC is going to do and what the LDs are going to do. So first, want to make sure that all the LDs are organized by the end of January. I think the first state committee meeting is in early Feb. And then, making sure that we've got the capacity. So the more we can plan and get into alignment collectively sooner, the better we can plan for what capacity needs we have. And then one thing that is a little different from previous cycles is making sure that at least the chair of the LD is duly elected for the new term, and then passing over the responsibility to that chair to organize the rest of their LD. And then ensuring all the materials are available, as you can imagine, ballot materials, PCO lists, the things that are important to the reorganization in advance. And then wherever we can and wherever we have capacity, continue to support the LDs in the reorganization effort. So the key stakeholders here are the current LD chair, the PCO chair. I mean, these are the folks that, as you think about the process of reorganization, the credentialing and tallying, getting the list of PCOs, recording the meeting minutes, making sure that we got a clear idea of the rules and that those are carried forward in the meeting. So those are the roles that you're seeing reflected here. We won't go through this, but essentially, like I said, wanting to make sure that we're in alignment in terms of what KCDCC is going to provide and then what the LD is responsible for providing. So just one example of what we will provide. One thing that you'll see tonight that is on our agenda for the KCDCC reorg are the rules. And so similarly, we need to just make sure we're in alignment on what those procedures and rules are when it comes time to reorganize the LDs as well. And then for what we'll provide, we're looking for LDs to provide to KCDCC, just as an example, our current bylaws as it relates to scheduling, as it relates to who has a vote, that type of deal. Every LD has slightly different bylaws, and so we just want to make sure we have a good idea of what those are. So in terms of timeline, so I met with the chairs in October, and then incorporating any feedback, meeting with them again in November to finalize those plans. Really trying to get to a point where by December we've got those meetings scheduled so that the new leadership after the KC Dems reorganization takes seat. They can just they don't have to worry about trying to schedule LD reorganization meetings, and they have a clear idea of what that path looks like. We have had an LD offer assistance from their LD. One of the chairs said, "Hey, look, given the capacity limitations, let us know if there are what your needs are in terms of if any of the members of their LD are able to volunteer. So if you know of any members of your LDs, or if you're interested in volunteering to help with reorganization for other LDs, let us know, let your chair know." And then obviously the reorganization meetings in January. That's all I had. I just wanted to provide that context since I met with the chairs so that you kind of know what's happening across the LDs. So I'll take some questions, but largely funneling through your chair. Any questions? All right. If there are no questions, we'll proceed to the KCDCC reorg. Melissa?
Yep. Hello again. So we announced this last month, but just a reminder, Sunday, December 15th at noon via Zoom will be the KCDCC reorganization. We had 45 people sign up for the leadership meeting that we had earlier this month, so that was really fun and exciting. We will need volunteers for credentialing, tally, and Q&A management. So if you know you're going to be at reorg and you like being, or at least are willing to be in front of your computer doing some spreadsheet and Slack and Zoom stuff back and forth, we will need probably at least a dozen folks working on those various pieces. So please email me if you want to volunteer for reorg. And then the thing that we need to do today is vote on the reorganization rules. There were proposed rules sent out with the call to meeting. I will also drop those in the chat. These are the same rules that we used in 2022 and nearly the same rules that we used in 2020. So conveniently, they have been used and exercised extensively. If you remember from 2 years ago that there's something that you didn't like about it, now is a great time to propose a change to it.
Right.
I'm having trouble with my hand raise, but I wanted to propose an amendment on the rules.
Yeah, go ahead, Tara.
Section 3.5. While candidates may campaign for office as they see fit, a speech that is solely against the election of another candidate is out of order. I was going to propose a change to that language. Can I message it to somebody in the chat to put into the chat?
Yeah, and actually, 1 second, Tara. Actually, in order to do this, I actually need to entertain a motion to approve the rules. Is there a motion to approve the rules?
So moved.
It's been moved by Melissa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Sorry, I missed it. Was that Charlotte?
Yeah, I said second.
Okay, seconded by Charlotte. All right, and then we have Tara, you're making a motion now to amend.
Yeah, I messaged Melissa the language. I would replace that with the chair may recognize the candidate. There we are.
Okay. Is that your motion to strike the sentence that's crossed out and add?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion by Tara to strike the line, while candidates may campaign for office as they see fit, a speech that is solely against the election of another candidate is out of order, and add, the chair may recognize a candidate for up to an additional 30 seconds to rebut a specific negative statement or ad hominem attack directed against that candidate. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, seconded by Melissa. Tara, do you want to speak in support of your motion?
Yeah, it doesn't seem it doesn't seem practical to have to define a speech solely against the election. I mean, one could speak for 20 seconds about, their qualifications or another candidate's qualifications or the beauty of sunflowers and then launch into an attack. But it has not been solely. Even if someone starts, I don't know, they can say they're going to get to another point. It seems impractical. This hasn't been a huge issue, but if there is a concern about negative campaigning, it does give an opportunity to address the negative input. And frankly, if someone feels that strongly against a candidate, it might be useful to have that information. I mean, we got PCOs from all over the county who do not know people. I mean, with the rebuttal, it does allow an opportunity to answer, but I think mostly I just think it's impractical to say speech solely against is out of order. And if the issue is negative campaigning, this should help address that.
Okay, thank you. Martin, are you speaking in opposition?
I just wanted to make a point about what I think might be the history of this, so I'm not necessarily doing for or against.
Okay, let's see if there's anyone speaking against this motion. All right, if there's no one speaking against, then we'll close comments. I think we're okay on the history. You just want to keep moving if that's okay. Since we don't
Jeremy,
have any.
I do think that this history is relevant. I know I wasn't here when Martin, but it created a lot of issues.
Okay.
And so I'm actually interested in refreshing my knowledge of what exactly happened to see if this is the right language to prevent that issue.
Yeah, and I don't know, it may be that my recollection is not the exact cause for this, but I seem to recall that there have been times in the past when people have run sham candidacies where they ran their candidacy solely so that they could get in additional time on the floor to argue against a candidate they didn't like. And so I think what I would suggest is, since that is a possibility, that people think about whether the original wording or whether this wording would better address that kind of situation.
Got it. Thank you, Martin.
I don't remember.
All right. Is there any opposition to Tar's amendment? Is there any opposition? Okay. Okay.
I'm not sure if it's opposition or if I have a point of clarification. Do we then not have any prohibition against speaking against other candidates? And I thought that we were meant to be speaking only in favor of a candidate, as opposed to having people speaking against candidates. So I'm unclear now if that's not the case, if that wasn't the intent.
And who's your question directed to?
The world? The original paragraph 2 of section 3.5 that is a speech that against a candidate is out of order. So we're saying, Melissa, the original intent was that people can speak against a candidate. They just can't make their entire speech about being against a candidate.
Yeah, I think that was essentially the compromise, because Tara is correct that sometimes there is very valid information that 1,200 PCOs may not be aware of. But for instance, if somebody has violated our code of conduct and we have an actual code of conduct sanction against them, that would be relevant information to the PCO body. And, even if it's not that well documented, it may be useful information. That being said, we don't want somebody to spend 2 minutes doing an ad hominem attack. And I'm trying to think of additional language that would bridge that gap. So I'm thinking about that. And Jeremy, why don't you call in some other folks?
And I'll just to clarify, Jeremy, that was not an objection, or if it was, I withdraw it.
Okay. Okay. So Tar it sounds like there's not another there's no objection. So the debate, like, we wouldn't continue the debate. So I guess if we're good with this and there's no objection, it sounds like it's adopted unless there's a motion to amend the amendment. Okay. If there's no objection, this amendment is adopted. And we're back to the main motion. Is there any objection to adopt the rules as amended? Is there any objection? Is there any objection? All right. If there's no objection, these rules are adopted for the 2024 KCDCC reorganization meeting. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Melissa. All right, let's stop sharing. We can, okay. We are, Melissa, was there anything else? I see you had a couple of other items around the timing and volunteering, but you covered that already. Is there anything else?
I covered that already. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good of the order. Is there anyone who would like to speak during good of the order? All right, Nate.
Yeah, hi there. Can everybody, I just want to make sure, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Nate Lindahl. I am the political coordinator for Kim Schreier's re-election campaign. And I just wanted to hop in here and give a quick campaign update as to where we are and some exciting events that we have coming up as well. So We actually have just gotten some polling out that we are a little concerned about. We are within the margin of error out here in Washington's 8th. So we are making sure that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that Kim stays in there. And if you want to see everything that's at risk, Kim actually did a debate with her opponent yesterday, and you can really see the comparisons of what the two candidates were like and what we are at risk with losing if we lose Kim here. So we have a ton of exciting events coming up, and we would love to see you all there. I have been out canvassing every day, but we would also love for you to join us. We have a very exciting event coming up on Sunday, October 7th. 27th, we actually will be having a Issaquah canvas launch with the Democratic Caucus Chair, Pete Aguilar. So he's coming up here and he is going to be helping us kick off a good canvas out here to make sure that we're making sure that everybody is aware about Kim. We also have canvases going on every Saturday. Well, for the next 2 Saturdays coming up out of our Issaquah office, and we will be getting more and more active as we get closer to the election. We are also having phone banks every Thursday and Sunday, at least this week. And again, those are going to start ramping up as well as we get closer to the election. All of this information, as well as any events that we have going on, are all posted on our website, drdrkimschreier.com, or you can go to our Mobilize link. That's mobilize.us/ let me just verify that I'm getting this right. I don't want to provide wrong information. Yes, so it's mobilize.us/Schreier for Congress. So, and that's FOR, not the letter. The number 4. So again, we are really hoping to see some of you at some of our exciting events. I don't know if I'm allowed to take questions, but I'm also, if anybody has anything for me or is concerned or would like some follow-up, you can always feel free to reach out to me. My email is Nathan, Nathan, at drdrkimschreier.com, and I'll be happy to assist in any way that I'm able to. So again, we're really hoping to see you all at one of our events coming up, and thank you so much again for letting me speak here.
Awesome. Thank you, Nate. If you could just put your email address in the chat, that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else for the good of the order?
I'll just do another quick plug to sign up for the Don't Boo Vote, or at least help share it in your LDs and for the GOTV tour. I really do think that a lot of these initiatives may be very, very close and will depend on King County turnout. So anything that y'all can do to help, and also come out and see each other in person, which is always nice.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. All right. Tim. You're muted. Tim, you're muted.
Yeah, just move to adjourn.
Is there any objection to adjourning? So moved. So done. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a happy holiday season. We'll see you at the reorganization meeting or at one of the events. Thank you, everybody.
Can you not go ahead and stop the live stream, but just keep the meeting open for a moment? I'm chatting with